That bottle of hair oil sitting in your shower, the one with the word natural somewhere on the front. There is no legal definition for the word natural on a cosmetic label in the United States. None. A company can print it on a bottle filled with mineral oil, synthetic preservatives, and ingredients tied to hair loss, and nothing about that is illegal. 5 hair oil brands have been caught, tested, or sued over exactly that gap between the label and the bottle. One of them went viral first, then ended up in federal court. 3 brands closed that gap before anybody forced them to. The worst one is first. Avoid number 1. Miel Organics. Rosemary Mint, Scalp and Strengthening Hair Oil. The little green bottle that sold out everywhere. Beauty supply stores, drugstores, big box shelves, every single one of them empty within days of the next video going viral. Restocking trucks unable to keep up with the demand. That virality became the trust. Millions of women watched the same bottle work for someone else online, filmed in a real bathroom, not a studio, then bought it themselves because the proof felt earned rather than purchased. It spread the way a genuine recommendation spreads, friend to friend, comment section to comment section, until it felt less like a product and more like a community secret everyone had finally found together. In November of 2024, a federal class action was filed against Miel Organics and its parent company Procter & Gamble, which acquired the brand the same year the virality peaked. The lawsuit alleges the Rosemary Mint Scalp and Strengthening Hair Oil causes hair loss, scalp blisters, and sores in some users. It was later folded into a larger multi-plaintiff case covering the oil, the shampoo, and the conditioner from the same product line. The complaint specifically challenges the marketing language used across the brand: natural, organic, made in the USA. It alleges the formula does not actually match any of those 3 words as printed. It also alleges the company never ran the kind of clinical testing needed to support its own hair growth and strengthening claims before putting them directly on the label. Smells like the viral favorite that finally worked after years of trying everything else. Reads like a federal complaint built almost entirely around the exact words printed on the front of the bottle. Read the marketing copy next to the lawsuit line by line. Natural, organic, made in the USA, strengthening. 4 specific words, all 4 directly challenged in the same complaint. All 4 sitting in plain sight the entire time anyone picked this bottle off a shelf or watched it praised online. For the woman who trusted the virality because it felt more honest than a paid advertisement ever could. This is what you actually bought. A formula now facing federal allegations of hair loss and scalp injury, sold under 3 separate label claims. A lawsuit says were never accurate to begin with, applied to your scalp, on the strength of that trust alone. If there is a least bad option here, it is anything from the brand's unscented or fragrance-free offerings, the products built without the rosemary mint formula named specifically throughout the complaint. Everything tied to that one line, the line that made the brand famous in the first place, is the entire problem right now. A bottle that sold out from pure virality. A lawsuit that followed the exact same path the virality created. That was the bottle that went viral and ended up in court for it. The next one never needed to go viral at all. It was already sitting on every drugstore shelf in the country long before anyone ever filmed a single video about it. Avoid number 2. OGX, Argan Oil Line. The orange bottle in the hair care aisle of literally every drugstore you have ever walked into. Walgreens, CVS, Target, the grocery store down the street. All 4 stocking the exact same bottle, the exact same shelf placement, year after year without fail. That consistency became the trust. Not flashy, not viral, never trending on anyone's feed, just always there, always the same price, the safe middle choice between the cheapest store brand on one end and the fragrance counter upcharge on the other. You did not research this bottle. You grabbed it because it had always been there, every single time you needed one. Owned by Johnson & Johnson Consumer Inc., the brand has faced multiple class action lawsuits alleging its argan oil and biotin and collagen lines caused hair loss and scalp damage in regular users. The complaints repeatedly name one specific ingredient running through both product lines: DMDM hydantoin, a preservative that slowly releases formaldehyde over the life of the bottle rather than all at once. Several plaintiffs describe symptoms appearing weeks or even months after they started using the product, often blamed at first on stress, heat styling, or seasonal shedding before anyone thought to connect it back to the bottle sitting in their shower. Smells like the safe, familiar choice on an otherwise crowded and confusing shelf. Reads like a formula built around a preservative that slowly releases a known irritant over time, Hidden behind a name most shoppers have never had a reason to look up. Read the timeline laid out in those complaints carefully. Weeks, months. Not an immediate reaction anyone could trace back to one obviously bad bottle on one obviously bad day. A slow, quiet buildup, which is exactly what made it so difficult for anyone to catch before the damage had already started. For the woman who picked this brand specifically because it felt like the responsible, unglamorous choice on a shelf full of louder options. This is what you actually bought. A preservative now named, repeatedly across active litigation, sitting quietly inside a formula built from the ground up to feel boring, familiar, and safe. If there is a least bad option here, anything labeled specifically as free from formaldehyde-releasing preservatives on the current shelf deserves a second look first. The rest of the line still carries the exact ingredient named again and again throughout these complaints. The most familiar bottle in the entire aisle, the most repeated ingredient across the entire lawsuit. That bottle earned its trust by being everywhere. The safest-looking choice on a crowded shelf. The next one earned its trust by claiming a tradition far older than the company that currently owns it. Avoid number 3. Dupes Vodka. The bottle on your grandmother's bathroom shelf. The same bottle on your mother's shelf. The same bottle you reached for without thinking twice, because 3 generations in your house had already decided it worked. That heritage became the trust. Dupes traces its roots back to 1884, built on centuries of Ayurvedic knowledge passed down rather than invented in a lab. Vodka leaned hard into that history, every bottle wrapped in language about ancient herbs, traditional wisdom, and natural goodness handed down through generations of careful formulation. Multiple retail listings for the brand's flagship coconut hair oil list, mineral oil as a base ingredient, sitting directly underneath marketing copy that promises an all-natural, purely Ayurvedic formula. One bundle listing for the brand goes further than that. It contains 2 contradictory claims inside the exact same product description. One line states the product is free from mineral oil. A different line, just below it, states that mineral oil is used in the formula. Both claims, same listing, same bottle, sold to the same customer reading both lines at once. Smells like a tradition older than the company selling it to you. Reads like 2 competing label claims that cannot both be true about the same bottle at the same time. Read those 2 lines back to back the way a customer actually would. Free from mineral oil contains mineral oil. Not a translation issue, not a formatting glitch easily explained away. A direct contradiction sitting inside the marketing for the exact same product, written by the exact same brand. For the family that trusted this bottle because it had already passed inspection from a grandmother, then a mother, then finally landed on a bathroom shelf for the next generation without a second look. This is what you actually bought. A formula sold on heritage and tradition, while the company's own listings cannot even agree on what is inside the bottle you keep replacing. If there is a least bad option here, it is checking the specific ingredient list on the exact bottle in your hand, rather than trusting the marketing copy printed around it. Some formulas in this line skip mineral oil entirely. The label alone will not tell you which one you are holding. 3 generations of trust, 2 contradictory claims on one single bottle. That brand sold heritage while quietly changing what the bottle actually contained. The next one sold a number, and the number came from an independent lab, not from a marketing department trying to win you back. Avoid. Number 4. Handcraft Blends. Organic castor oil. The little brown bottle next to the eyebrow pencils. The one every brow growth video on your feed eventually points back to the same bottle, over and over, until it felt like the obvious next purchase. That repetition became the trust. Thousands of videos. The same bottle held up to the camera. The same promise about thicker brows and longer lashes after a few weeks of nightly application directly along the lash line, close enough to the eyes that any contamination matters more than it would almost anywhere else on the body. An EPA-certified laboratory, commissioned by Mama Vashan, in partnership with Environmental Health News, tested 10 popular castor oil brands for phthalates in March of 2025. All 10 products came back with detectable phthalates. Handcraft Blends. Organic castor oil tested the highest of all 10 at 3,300 parts per billion total phthalates, more than 6 times higher than the next closest brand in the entire study. Smells like the obvious, trusted pick from every growth video on your feed. Reads like the single worst number in an entire independent lab study built specifically to check for this. Read where this oil actually goes every single night. Along the lash line, across the brow, close enough to the eyes that absorption happens faster and more directly than it would on a scalp, covered in hair and protected by skin several layers thicker. For the person who bought this bottle specifically because every video pointed to the exact same one. This is what you actually bought. The single highest phthalate result recorded in an independent 10-brand study, applied nightly to some of the most absorptive skin on your entire body. If there is a least bad option here, the same study found 3 brands testing well below 200 parts per billion, a fraction of what this bottle contained. Viva Naturals, Sky Organics, and Heritage Store all came back significantly cleaner in the exact same round of testing, the highest number in a 10-brand study, the most repeated bottle in an entire trend. That brand was not caught by virality or a lawsuit. It was caught by a lab. The next one was not caught by a lab either. It was caught by a packaging law built to protect toddlers. Avoid number 5. Unregulated Amazon hair growth. Serums. The $10 bottle in your cart late at night, sitting right next to the $80 version everyone recommends, promising the exact same active ingredient for a fraction of the price. That price gap became the appeal. Hair loss is expensive to treat the normal way. Doctor visits, prescriptions, months of waiting to see if anything actually works. A cheap serum on Amazon, reviewed by thousands of strangers, sold under a name you have never heard of but packaged to look exactly like the products that already work, feels like the obvious shortcut for anyone tired of waiting. The Consumer Product Safety Commission issued multiple recalls in 2025 and 2026 covering minoxidil containing hair and beard growth serums sold through Amazon. The recalls cite a single shared failure across every product named: missing child-resistant packaging, with the agency warning of risk of serious injury or death if a child swallows the contents. The products named include a beard growth serum sold for several months before its recall, and 2 separate hair growth serums sold under different names but carrying the identical packaging failure. One of them was sold for roughly $10 a bottle for months before anyone outside the company caught the problem. Smells like the smart shortcut. The same active ingredient without the brand name markup attached to it. Reads like a recall notice citing a packaging requirement that pharmacy-bought versions of the exact same ingredient have followed for years without anyone questioning it. Read what the price difference is actually paying for here. Not a different formula, not a weaker version of the same chemical, the same active ingredient, minoxidil, sold without the one packaging requirement that exists specifically to keep a child from opening the bottle and drinking what is inside it. The savings did not come from a smarter supply chain. It came from skipping the one safety feature regulators require everywhere else this exact chemical is sold, for the person who chose the cheap bottle specifically to save money on something that already felt expensive enough. This is what you actually bought. The identical active ingredient sold at a pharmacy, minus the only safety feature that makes it legal to sell that way anywhere else, sitting in a bathroom cabinet that may or may not have a child walking past it. If there is a least bad option here, it is buying minoxidil specifically from a pharmacy or a major retailer required to meet child-resistant packaging standards, even if the price is higher. That higher price is the actual cost of the safety feature the recalled bottles skipped entirely to undercut it. A $10 bottle built to undercut an $80 one. A recall built to explain exactly why that difference existed in the first place. The first 4 brands on this list got caught by a lawsuit or an independent lab somewhere along the way. This one got caught by a child safety law, and only after it was already sitting inside homes that had kids living in them the entire time. Good catch. I dropped headings entirely when you said no lines between sections and no audience tags. That was too aggressive. Here it is with the brand headers restored. Still no audience tags, still no divider lines between sections. Okay, stop for a second. You just sat through 5 different hair oil brands. Different price points, different aisles, different audiences entirely. One playbook sitting underneath every single one of them. Step 1. A brand builds trust on a word nobody has to prove. Natural, Ayurvedic, viral. Step 2. That word becomes the actual selling point, doing more work than the ingredient list sitting quietly underneath it. Step 3. The formula either stays cheap to manufacture, gets bought out by a conglomerate chasing the trend, or skips a safety standard entirely just to undercut the competition on price. Step 4. Nobody outside a courtroom, a certified lab, or a federal safety commission ever bothers to check the actual gap between the word on the label and the formula inside the bottle. Step 5. By the time anyone finally checks, the bottle is already empty, already replaced, and already sitting in millions of bathrooms across the country. That is not 5 separate stories. That is one story told 5 times with 5 different bottles standing in for the exact same move. 3 brands looked at that move and refused to make it. Worth it. Number 1. Rahua. Where Miel sold you a viral moment, Rahua sells you a documented sourcing relationship with the exact community the oil actually comes from. Founded in 2008 by Fabian Ligon and Anna Ayers, Rahua is built around something called the symbiotic standard, developed directly alongside the Amazonian communities who harvest the oil by hand, the same way their families have done for generations before any of this became a beauty brand. The brand is B Corp certified, a third-party verification covering labor practices, sourcing, and environmental impact, not a label the company quietly assigned to itself. Every single bottle sold is tied to the preservation of 1 acre of rainforest, a claim backed by a named conservation partnership rather than a vague sustainability sentence with nothing real underneath it. Free of sulfates, parabens, silicones, and phthalates, the exact list of ingredients named across the lawsuits and lab tests sitting throughout the first half of this video. The carve-out. This is not a budget bottle, and it has never once claimed to be one. If you are specifically hunting for the cheapest option on a drugstore shelf, this brand was never built to compete in that lane at all. Around $48 for a bottle that lasts for months with sparing, careful use, sold through Sephora, Ulta, and Rahua.com. A company that could have profited from the rainforest the way so many others have, finally building something that protects it instead of quietly extracting from it. Worth it. Number 2. Act and Acre. Where the cheap, unregulated serums sold you an active ingredient with nothing else attached to it, Act and Acre sells you the actual proof that the ingredient worked at all. Founded by Helen Reevy, a certified trichologist and celebrity hairstylist who spent years watching her own clients struggle with exactly the thinning and shedding the cheaper alternatives never solved, the brand patented something called the cold-processed method, formulated below the heat threshold that normally degrades the most active part of a plant-based ingredient before it even reaches the bottle. A 12-week third-party clinical study, run independently rather than self-reported by the company itself, found 56% less visible hair fallout among regular users, the kind of verified number the unregulated growth serums never once bothered to produce for anyone. Free of sulfates, silicones, parabens, phthalates, petrolatum, and synthetic fragrance, with every single claim backed by that same clinical data rather than a label printed before any actual testing ever happened. The carve-out. This is a scalp serum, not a traditional oil, and the price reflects exactly that. If you specifically want the texture and ritual of a true oil rather than a lightweight leave-in serum, this was not built to replace that particular experience. Around $74 for a 2-month supply, sold through actandacre.com and Sephora. A trichologist built the proof the cheaper bottles never had to provide anyone. The next brand did not need a lab at all. It needed the exact community the very first brand on this list was supposed to serve and never actually protected. Worth it. Number 3. Pattern Beauty. Where Miel sold virality to a community it did not come from, Pattern Beauty was built from inside that exact community from the very first day. Founded in 2019 by Tracy Ellis Ross, Pattern was created specifically for 3B through 4C hair textures, the curly, coily, and tight-textured community that built Miel's entire reputation long before that lawsuit ever existed. Free of parabens, formaldehyde, releasing agents, phthalates, mineral oil, and sulfates. The exact ingredient list directly answering the allegations sitting inside the Miel complaint from the very first section of this video. Built and owned from day one by someone from inside the community, it actually serves, not acquired years later by a conglomerate chasing a trend that had already gone viral without them anywhere near it. The carve-out. The price sits closer to a specialty shelf than a drugstore one. If a $10 bottle is genuinely the only option your budget allows right now, this will not be the easiest swap to make immediately. Around $29 for the jojoba oil blend, sold through Sephora, Ulta, and Pattern.com. It built trust the community already had on its own, instead of buying virality to manufacture that trust from somewhere outside it. You just sat through 8 brands. A viral bottle now facing a federal lawsuit over hair loss, scalp blisters, and 3 label claims a complaint says were never true to begin with. A drugstore staple named repeatedly in litigation over a slow-releasing preservative nobody thought to question. A heritage brand whose own product listing cannot even agree with itself about whether mineral oil is sitting in the bottle. The single highest phthalate result recorded in an entire independent lab study, applied nightly along the lash line. A $10 serum recalled for skipping the one safety feature that exists specifically to keep a child from drinking what was inside it. It is not a mistake. It is the model. Walk into your shower tomorrow morning, Pick up the hair oil you reach for the most. Read the first 5 ingredients out loud, slowly. If you cannot pronounce more than 2 of them, you just found the exact gap none of these brands ever had to close on their own. Subscribe so you do not miss the next breakdown. The shampoo and conditioner brands hiding these same ingredients behind a completely different bottle and a completely different price tag. If someone you know is still reaching for one of the first 5 every single night without knowing what is actually sitting inside it, send them this before they reach for it again tomorrow morning. The system is not broken. It is working exactly the way it was built to work. You were never supposed to read past the word natural. Stay sharp. Read those labels. Keep rising.